So you've just heard from Long Island Housing Partnership staff about this great opportunity that they're making available, creating really quality, affordably priced homes and making them available to you as a buyer who, without that kind of assistance, would likely not be able to purchase and own a home of your own. And you've heard them explain that this community land trust strategy is designed not only to create the affordability of this home for you, but to make sure that this home remains affordable should you ever choose to move on, that this home remains affordable to another household that's in the same circumstances that you were in when you moved in. So obviously there's a clear number of advantages to the kinds of housing affordability that this community land trust initiative is able to provide for people who qualify and are interested in buying and owning one of these homes. You've heard about this. I'd like to spend the next few minutes talking with you more specifically about this community land trust and how it works and what the expectations as well as the benefits of community land trust homeownership really are. So in a community land trust, this community land trust, the Long Island Partnership Community Land Trust, will own and hold title to the land underneath all of the homes in its portfolio forever, and will sell you as a qualified buyer. If you go through this process and you are selected and everything falls into place, you will purchase and own the home at a price that you can afford, and the CLT will retain the ownership of the land, but will convey the use, an exclusive, durable, enforceable right to use the parcel of land that the home sits on to you by means of a 99-year ground lease agreement. So after the closing, you as a homeowner will own the home and all improvements, and you'll have a deed recorded in your name as evidence of that, and you will have a 99-year lease that will provide you an exclusive right to use and occupy the land for that 99-year term. And both of these documents, the ground lease and the deed, are recorded in the county land records. They're legally binding, they're enforceable, and they stipulate that you get to live there the rest of your life. You can pass along to your children, they can pass along to theirs during that initial 99-year term. But should you ever choose to decide to sell, the CLT is going to arrange for that sale and make the home available at an affordable price to the next incoming buyer. So basically what the Community Land Trust is saying is it provides affordability to you to help you purchase and own a home you would otherwise not be able to afford, and simply asks you to leave the affordability it created for you. So that same opportunity, that same affordability is available for another limited income homebuyer household that's in the same circumstances that you were in when you moved in. So here's how that works. So when you sell your home, you're going to be entitled to get back all of the equity that's yours. So you'll be making, as any home buyer, homeowner does, you'll be required to make a reasonable cash out-of-pocket down payment. And obviously by doing so, you have purchased a portion of the value of the home up front. And like any other homeowner, you're going to make your monthly mortgage payments that you'll slowly be paying down the principal balance that you owe in the mortgage. And the longer you live in the home, the more you pay that down. So you get to keep your equity that you've earned during the time that you live there. Plus, you will be allowed a share of the increase in the value of the property during the time that you live there. That's based on an increase in the consumer price index. Any change or increase in the consumer price index during the time that you own your home. And I'll explain that more in just a minute. So the benefits, and there are nearly 300 community land trusts currently in operation around the country, with literally thousands of CLT homeownership units in their portfolios. And what we've learned from those other community land trusts, and what will be true with this one here on Long Island, is there's some very tangible, specific benefits that are being made available to you. The first, of course, is that we have long-term security of owning a home as opposed to renting or having to live with somebody else or live somewhere and commute back into this community. You'll have an exclusive right to use this piece of property. You'll own your home. You'll have the ability to pass what you own, the home that you own and the land that you lease on to your heirs. The CLT is going to make it incredibly affordable, and so to make it affordable to you as an individual household, and have the opportunity as any other homeowner to build equity, although there's going to be limitations on just how much. We'll talk very specifically about that, but you'll have the ability to build equity like any other homeowner. And in all likelihood, when you go to sell your home, should you decide to do this at some point in the future, the CLT will help arrange the sale of your home either by purchasing it directly, by exercising its option to purchase, or helping identify an eligible qualified buyer for you. And so in that scenario, you would not need to pay any outside realtor or broker fees that would reduce the sale proceeds of your home. In turn, the CLT makes a series of commitments to you as a home buyer and as a homeowner during the time that you live there. Up front, the CLT is going to assist you in qualifying for a mortgage, help you understand what the benefits and the responsibilities are of buying, owning, and selling a home through the Community Land Trust, including help you understand the terms and conditions of this ground lease agreement and its resale formula. And as I mentioned, either arrange to buy your home or help you find an eligible buyer should you ever decide to sell your home, provide during the time that you live in your home, will make available any kinds of services and resources that you might find helpful as you continue as a homeowner, including and up to the point of being able to assist you if you run into some financial difficulties. There are no guarantees here, but sometimes people run into difficulties that they simply do not anticipate. And so the Community Land Trust has the ability and the willingness to step in, wants you to stay in contact with them, because if something happens where you need some assistance, the Community Land Trust organization will provide or arrange for that kind of assistance and provide access to other kinds of support and assistance to help you become and remain successful as a homeowner during the time that you live in your home. The Community Land Trust has no interest whatsoever in running your life, but it's going to make the services and resources available that might be something that will be of interest to you during the time you're there. So in exchange for receiving considerable financial assistance to purchase and own a home through the Community Land Trust, the Community Land Trust in turn has very specific expectations regarding the work that you need to do, the responsibilities on your end. That includes the fact that you're going to need to, the Community Land Trust can make the home affordable, but that you're going to have to be able to qualify for and be approved for mortgage financing to purchase the home at the affordable price that the Community Land Trust is making available. We're going to expect that you pay attention to and understand the terms of the lease agreement and agree by signing this document at the closing to abide by everything that's stipulated in this ground lease, including understanding that the formula will allow you to build wealth, to build equity, but will limit the price at which you can sell the home whenever you decide to sell, because it wants to keep the home affordable for another future limited income homebuyer household. And obviously, as a homeowner, you get to enjoy the privileges of owning the home and the land on which it's located. The lease will stipulate some very specific expectations that the community has for you in exchange for receiving this assistance to purchase and own this home at an affordable price. So we'll make sure that by signing this lease, you will agree that you will use the land that you lease and the home that you own in a responsible way, and that covers people who visit you, members of your family. Just agree to follow the same rules that any homeowner is expected to comply with. As I mentioned on a number of occasions, you have the ability to pass this home on to your heirs. The Community Land Trust will collect monthly lease fees in two parts. One is there'll be a $75 a month ground lease fee that's paid to the CLT that helps sustain its ongoing operations to do this kind of work for you, for future homeowners, as well as for other properties that are going to be developed around the two counties here on Long Island. And in addition to that, there'll be a $50 monthly repair reserve fee, which goes into a pool that can be used by you and other homeowners should you run into a situation where there's a need for an emergency repair or some kind of replacement, and you may have, in the event that you have difficulty having those resources yourself, there's a pool of resources that'll be available that you may be able to draw on. So there will be factored into the affordability of this home an expectation that you will be making these monthly fee payments to the CLT. These are fees that are not likely to increase significantly during the time that you live in your home. You will be responsible for paying property taxes on the home that you own and the land that you lease, as well as keeping the home insured at limits that are specified and fully disclosed in the ground lease agreement. We simply want to make sure that you've got adequate insurance coverage should the should there be a fire or other kind of damage, and that you are adequately covered in that regard. And you may, during the time that you own your home, make home improvements, but the community land trust is going to ask you to come to the CLT and get permission to do that before you begin those, simply because the community land trust wants to make sure that the improvements are going to be done in a manner that's consistent with local codes and requirements, as well as make sure that you have the money to finish the improvements and not find yourself in a situation where the improvements are halfway done and you're not able to complete them. You will be able to not only borrow money to buy your home up front, but like any other homeowner, you have the ability to take out a home equity loan should you decide to do so. The community land trust has the right to review and approve that loan ahead of time because it wants to make sure that you borrow against the money that's yours, but it is not secured by the land and cannot be for more than the amount of equity that is yours. The community land trust ground lease will also stipulate that this is your primary residence, that this is your the place where you live is your primary residence, and that you must live in the home all year, and that except in very specific circumstances where the community land trust might allow a waiver, the expectation is that you live there and that you not rent out your home or rooms in your home as income properties, because they want to keep this home in good condition. They want to be respectful of the neighborhoods around there. I want to make sure that this works out well for you. In the event that there ends up being any disagreements, and I can tell you from my experience of looking at community land trusts around the country, very seldomly do disputes come up, but there's an agreement in the ground lease that anything that cannot be resolved directly between the CLT and you, should that happen, can be resolved by arbitration or mediation, depending upon the agreement, your agreement and the agreement of the CLT. And finally, as I've mentioned a number of times, you will be expected to share the affordability that's been created for you by leaving it with the home, so that's available for the next home buyer for generations to come. So let's take a look at how this resale formula works, because we think it's important for you to understand not only the benefits, but the requirements that accompany this community land trust homeownership. So let's use a hypothetical example. Now, these numbers are not entirely way off base, but the actual numbers are going to vary and would be disclosed to you as you go through the application and selection process. But let's just say, for purposes of example, that the community land trust is creating an affordable homeownership situation where the home, based upon market appraisal, would sell for $430,000 on the open market. But because the community land trust has secured subsidies, is able to reduce the price, the affordable price, from $430,000 to a much more reasonable $230,000, providing you, in effect, $200,000 of assistance to purchase this home that would sell for $430,000 on the open market. And the community land trust is interested in providing that opportunity to you, but wants to make sure that that same affordability remains with the home should you ever decide to sell. So let's say you go to sell your home 10 years from now, and because the community land trust has pegged your return, has set the level of your return by fixing it to the consumer price index, we make an assumption. We won't know for sure until it happens, but let's just assume that during the 10-year period, that you decide to sell it after living in your home for 10 years, and during that period of time, the CPI has increased by 1.5% per year. That's 15%, and that's a fairly safe assumption because CPI has been steadily increasing in recent years. So the additional equity that you will receive based upon your original affordable purchase price of $230,000 is 15% of that number, so $34,500. Again, the $230,000 is the affordable price that you paid. The $34,500 is the percentage increase that you're allowed based upon the change in CPI in this hypothetical example. And so what that means is the CLT, or a pre-qualified limited income household, may be able to purchase your home for what you originally paid, the affordable price of $230,000, plus the CPI-driven increase that you're allowed, which is $34,000. So what this means is when you go to sell your home in this hypothetical example, 10 years from now, the community, you would be able to, your resale price would be $264,500. And in turn, what that allows the Community Land Trust to do is allow the next limited income homebuyer household to purchase this home that could have, in effect, a market value way over $500,000, can sell this for a much more affordable price of $264,500. So what the Community Land Trust attempts to do in this arrangement is to provide you, as the homeowner at the time of sale, a fair and equitable return on the ownership of your home, at the same time that it wants to keep the home affordable for the next limited income homebuyer household. So here, in order to qualify, we need to be clear that this is a program that's marketed to households that have incomes not exceeding 80% of the area median income for Long Island. And these are, in 2018, are the limits, the maximum incomes by household size. So if your income and your family fits within these definitions, if you, for example, are a 4-person household and your combined gross household income is less than $93,350, you would be able to qualify for the home that the Community Land Trust is making available for sale. So here's the process if you're interested after listening to all of this. If you're interested, the first process is you would complete a lottery intake application, and as of a certain date, the CLT will hold a lottery to determine and rank applicants. Applicants that go through that ranked process will complete a formal application providing information to the CLT about your income and debts and your family's circumstances and all the rest of that. And based upon that information, the CLT will determine if you are in fact eligible to participate in the program. And if you are, then you'll be asked to complete standard, typical homebuyer education and counseling, and we'll ask you then to go out and make sure that you get approved for the mortgage financing. So using the example that I mentioned earlier on, you would need to go to a bank and qualify for that $200,000 purchase price for a mortgage that would allow you to purchase that home at that $200,000 example, or whatever the affordable price ends up being. You will also be then, at that point, after you've qualified for the mortgage, you'll meet with the CLT and they will provide you a really very detailed time where they will discuss the requirements, as I've outlined here, of just exactly how this Community Land Trust works, what the benefits and the responsibilities are, what the expectations are that the CLT will have of you, which I've outlined above, as well as what you can expect of the CLT in terms of the benefits and responsibilities of buying, owning, and selling a CLT home. And then you will select a site from the available sites that the CLT will have available for sale. You'll sign a purchase agreement and provide the bank documents that will be requested, ensuring that you have access to the mortgage financing that you've been pre-approved for. And then once the home is completed, you will participate in a purchase closing. Excuse me, this happens before, as soon as you provide the bank documents, you'll go to closing, you'll participate in a purchase closing, you'll sign the lease agreement, and then after the home is completed, you will be able to move in to your new home at a price that you can afford, which is really a very terrific opportunity. If you're interested, you can certainly contact the Long Island Housing Partnership, specifically call and ask for Michelle D. The number is 631-435-4710, extension 326. So I really hope you take a serious look at this. Community Land Trust homeowners across the country, and there, as I mentioned earlier, are hundreds, there are thousands of happy CLT homeowners, have found that this is a really excellent arrangement to own a home in the community in which they live and the community in which they work. So I encourage you to give some consideration to this Community Land Trust and hope you enjoy the opportunity should it end up working out that way. Thank you very much for your time and attention.